A Toledo Public Schools principal and the district itself are defendants in a sexual harassment lawsuit.
Yeah, 11 Investigates has learned the principal was found to have sexually harassed a teacher of 20 years, but no discipline was ever handed out against him. Melissa Andrews is here. Mel, how did this happen?
According to TPS's own investigation, this principal committed sexual harassment. But in a later disciplinary hearing in which no new evidence was supposed to be allowed, he was allowed to introduce evidence, and the alleged victim was not consulted.
Tamara Muchiarone says it's been a tough 6 years. First, enduring sexual harassment, reporting it, and then she says being punished for it.
I don't know if they're just trying to break me down and hope that I give up and go away. But I've come this far.
Muchiarone accuses Toledo Public Schools and Scott High School principal Carnel Smith of sexual harassment, discrimination, and retaliation in a lawsuit filed last month. In it, she details harassment by Smith in person and in text messages.
I get a text message, and it's a picture of my feet, from my knees down. And it just says, "Have a nice school year," with a smiley face in it.
Muchiarone filed a formal complaint against Smith with the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources in April of 2023. She says Smith also told her she should wear more skirts or a dress and heels, and said, "I know you feel sexy in those," also telling her she was hunting for a man. TPS conducted an investigation during which time Muchiarone says Smith's harassment grew into hostility. She says he was listening to her conversations and tracking her movements on school cameras. She let Human Resources know she was not comfortable working for him.
I even asked, is it normal for when somebody has an accusation of that you leave him in the building with me still working there and not remove him, at least put him on paid leave or something while you're doing your investigation?
Muchiarone requested a transfer with the ability to return to Scott if Smith was no longer there. In doing that, she gave up 2 other positions, which paid her several $1,000s a year. She says she was looking forward to returning to Scott when a third-party decision-maker determined in June of 2023 that Smith had sexually harassed her during the 22-23 year, violating board policy.
I was excited. I was like, okay, so something's going to happen.
But her relief was short-lived when Smith returned to the school that fall. She hired an attorney.
They didn't take action then. They also didn't take action once the decision-maker's report came out substantiating the sexual harassment. It wasn't until after my client obtained legal counsel and I reached out that they seemed to take any action at all towards discipline.
According to documents obtained by 11 Investigates, TPS offered Smith a 1-day suspension without pay and mandatory harassment training in lieu of a disciplinary hearing, which he and his union rejected. TPS removed the offer and the matter moved to a hearing, during which TPS upped the ante, requesting a 5-day suspension without pay and harassment training. But Smith and his union were allowed to admit new evidence during what was supposed to be a disciplinary hearing in November, text messages between Smith and Muchiarone. They said it was proof she initiated conversations with him. She admits she did about student and building issues.
He told the whole staff, if you have issues, contact me.
The hearing officer found this one about her shoes in particular supported Smith's defense. Why would she initiate conversations about her shoes? And she found it unfathomable that Smith waited months to mention the text. Muchiarone says she was trying to get him on the record.
I wanted to see if he would react or say or comment on how I looked, what I was dressing, tell me what I should be wearing, because he did that.
Muchiarone says she was not told about the hearing nor given a chance to explain.
I would have loved to have been there, because just like he had a right when I filed, he had a right to go in and say his side and do that. Why shouldn't I have that say? Why shouldn't I at least be allowed to sit there?
Smith was never disciplined in any way, not placed on administrative leave, not suspended, no punishment, just a recommendation for more harassment training. and he returned to Scott as principal. Muchiarone is still teaching at another TPS school, making less money.
When you're in a position where you're being harassed or discriminated against by someone in a position of power over you, especially in this situation when you have someone that's beloved by the administration, that is a hometown hero, it's really hard to come out and talk about it. And I think that that's the case for a lot of people, is that it happens all the time.
If you're out in the public talking about being, role models and preparing people for the future, what lessons are you really teaching them?
As for the mandatory sexual harassment training that was recommended last November, 11 Investigates confirmed with the district that Smith still has not completed it. In fact, the district hired a law firm that said he didn't need to, again, without consulting Muchiarone, a teacher of 20 years with the district with no discipline in her personnel file. Smith and TPS leadership declined an interview. TPS did send us this statement. Toledo Public Schools is not able to comment further on matters that are involved in ongoing legal proceedings. However, it is important to note that in the case of Miss Muchiarone and Dr. Smith, the district collaborated closely with its legal counsel and engaged 2 independent investigators to ensure a thorough and impartial outcome. The district is confident in the fairness and accuracy of the process. This is a very complex story, so we have much more in-depth reporting right now on WTOL.com. For 11 Investigates, I'm Melissa Andrews.